Hey Samuel, it feels like everywhere I go online, people are buzzing about Pi Network. And one question keeps popping up. Can Pi reach $3 again? It's a fascinating one, especially considering its unique journey so far.
Absolutely, Rohit. It's almost become this sort of legendary figure in the crypto space, isn't it? That $3 mark specifically. For a project that hasn't even officially launched on an open mainnet, it's wild how much discussion there is around its potential value. I think it shows just how much hope the community has.
Exactly, and we need to clarify upfront for our listeners. When people talk about Pi reaching $3, they're typically referring to the price it's hit on certain IOU exchanges. These aren't actual officially traded Pi coins from the mainnet. It's more like a futures market or a speculative listing based on assumed future value. Super important distinction there.
That's a crucial point, Rohit. These IOUs are essentially placeholders. They reflect a sentiment, a speculative value, rather than a true market price derived from actual supply and demand of liquid Pi coins. So the question isn't just can it hit $3, but can it hit $3 on an open, fully tradable mainnet? That's a whole different ballgame.
Precisely. Let's start by briefly setting the stage for anyone who might not be super familiar with Pi Network. It emerged with this vision of making crypto mining accessible to everyone, right from their smartphones without draining battery life. The idea was to build a utility driven ecosystem, not just another speculative coin.
Yeah, and that was a really powerful hook, especially for people intimidated by the complexity or energy consumption of traditional crypto mining. Just tap a button daily and you're mining Pi. It created this incredibly low barrier to entry, which is a big reason for its massive user base, I think. We're talking tens of millions of users worldwide.
That user base is absolutely one of its strongest arguments. If you can onboard millions of users before even an open launch, that's a network effect waiting to happen. But here's the kicker, we're still in this enclosed mainnet phase. Users can migrate their mined Pi, use it within the Pi ecosystem for dApps, but they can't freely trade it on external exchanges yet.
And that enclosed mainnet is both a strength and a source of frustration, isn't it? On one hand, it allows them to build out the ecosystem, test dApps, and get KYC, know your customer processes sorted for millions of users without the wild price fluctuations of an open market. On the other hand, it's a huge test of patience for early adopters who are eager to see their mined value realized.
Definitely. So let's break down what factors would realistically need to align for Pi to hit and more importantly sustain a $3 valuation on an open market. First, and this is non negotiable, the open mainnet launch has to happen and it has to be a smooth, well communicated transition.
Right. A botched launch or further significant delays could really deflate community morale. After years of mining, people expect a clear path to liquidity. But even after launch, what then? I mean, $3 isn't a small number for a project with potentially billions of coins in circulation eventually. What kind of market cap are we talking about?
That's where the detailed analysis comes in. Let's make some assumptions. The PICO team hasn't released the exact total supply of tradable Pi yet, as it's tied to active miners and halving events. But let's say conservatively that after initial migration and excluding locked up Pi, there are a few tens of billions of Pi coins circulating. If we're talking about say 20 30 billion coins, then a $3 price point would imply a market cap of 60 to 90 billion dollars.
Whoa, hold on. 60 to 90 billion dollars. That's putting it in the same league as some major players. We're talking about market caps comparable to Solana or even XRP at certain points, or very close to some of the top 5 to 10 cryptocurrencies. That's a massive valuation for a brand new, yet to be fully tested open mainnet coin. Exactly. So for Pi to reach that kind of market cap, it can't just rely on hype. It needs tangible, undeniable utility and adoption. This is where the ecosystem development becomes absolutely critical. We're talking about a thriving marketplace, widely used dApps, and real-world transactions happening on the Pi blockchain. So the Pi browser and the various apps within it, like PyChain Mall or other developer-built apps, they need to be genuinely useful, solve problems, and attract users beyond just the miners. It can't just be a closed loop of Pi users transacting with Pi. It needs to bring in external value, right?
Spot on, Samuel. Think about it. Why do people use Ethereum? Because of its smart contract capabilities, DeFi, NFTs, the entire ecosystem it facilitates. For Pi to justify a multi billion dollar valuation, it needs to offer something compelling that attracts developers and users who aren't just there because they mine free Pi. It needs to be a platform that stands on its own merits.
And what about the KYC process? They've been very diligent about it, which is good for preventing bots and ensuring a legitimate user base. But the speed and success rate of KYC for millions of users will also determine how much liquid Pi is available on day one of the open mainnet, won't it?
Absolutely critical. If a significant chunk of the claimed user base hasn't passed KYC, then that ends of billions of coins figure might shrink initially, creating a temporary scarcity. But the long term goal for the network has to be getting as many legitimate users KYC'd as possible to maximize network participation. A low KYC success rate could also breed frustration and skepticism.
So let's paint a picture of the best case scenario for reaching $3. Open mainnet launches smoothly, a huge percentage of users are KYC'd, the Pi ecosystem has several genuinely popular, user-friendly dApps, and, crucially, there's a strong external demand for Pi, not just internal usage. What could drive that external demand?
External demand would come from things like businesses adopting Pi for payments, new innovative projects choosing Pi as their blockchain, or even just general crypto market bullishness that lifts all boats. If Pi can demonstrate real world utility and capture a significant portion of the everyday transaction market, that would be a powerful driver. Imagine if millions start using Pi for small purchases or remittances.
That's the dream, right? A truly decentralized digital currency for the masses. But let's pivot to the challenges, because there are quite a few. What are the biggest hurdles preventing Pi from reaching that $3 mark, or even just having a successful open launch?
The biggest one, honestly, is time. The enclosed mainnet has been ongoing for a while, and while patience is a virtue in crypto, prolonged delays can lead to user fatigue and attrition. If people lose interest, that massive user base starts to dwindle, and with it, the network effect.
I can see that. I've heard some people say they've stopped clicking the button daily. It's a psychological thing, isn't it? The reward needs to feel tangible at some point. What about the supply side? If billions of coins suddenly hit the market, wouldn't that create immense selling pressure, driving the price down significantly?
That's a very real concern, the sell off factor. Many early miners, having accumulated Pi for years, might view an open mainnet as their chance to cash out. If there's a massive influx of sell orders with insufficient buy pressure, the price could plummet initially. The core team has implemented locking mechanisms where users can voluntarily lock up their Pi for periods, which helps reduce initial circulating supply. But it might not be enough.
Those lockups are smart but still voluntary. And the other thing is the perceived free nature of the coin. Does that make people value it less? If you haven't invested any fiat, are you less likely to hold on to it compared to, say, Bitcoin that someone actively bought?
That's a psychological factor often overlooked. Free mining can lead to a lower perceived value. People might be quicker to sell something they got for free rather than something they actively invested hard earned money into. This could exacerbate initial selling pressure. Also, the lack of definitive innovation beyond the mobile mining aspect is something critics often point to. What makes Pi uniquely better than existing smart contract platforms?
Right, the competition is fierce. Ethereum, Solana, BNB Chain, Avalanche, they all have established ecosystems, developers, and massive market caps. Pi needs a compelling differentiating factor to pull in that external developer talent and user base. Simply being mobile-friendly might not be enough in the long run, as other chains are also building mobile-first experiences.
Precisely. And let's not forget regulatory scrutiny. As cryptocurrencies become more mainstream, regulators worldwide are paying closer attention. A large, globally distributed network like Pi could face significant challenges if it doesn't navigate these waters carefully. This includes KYC,